we talk about picking the markets, and especially in the financial markets. We know over time there's few patterns. There are some trends and some things that you can predict that do tend to sort of happen, but there's so much that's random at the same time. We spend so much time trying to connect that and make sense of it. The beauty of it is that all of that information you can't predict the future, but you can, if you're really wildly curious about it, then you're just open to the potential rather than the, oh, good Lord, that thing that I thought was going to happen didn't happen, and therefore I'm going to go and cry in the corner.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wasted Wealth. Today I am joined by Belinda. Why don't you give us the too long didn't read on who you are and how you got here?
This is one of those ultimate just tell me the time, not how the whole watch works.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Please.
So I am an executive coach, facilitator. I work with leadership teams. I sit on a couple of boards, do all that kind of thing. I work globally, which is amazing. I love that. It does mean meetings in the middle of the night, which is not so fabulous. But I came to this work through sport. Okay. And having had a mental strength sports coach, decided that was fabulous. So I came to coaching through being coach.
Right, coach.
And that's grown this whole leadership practice that I've been doing. Oh. I think I've been saying for 9 years for about the last 9 years. So it's too long to count.
So it's longer than 9 years?
It's longer than 9 years, but I'm not
but less than 20.
Yeah, we'll give it that.
Yeah.
That's a decent range.
Yeah.
And as someone who has also represented New Zealand in fishing, that's sort of 9, 20, this long. It's the same way we talk about fish.
Bit of a thing.
Yeah.
It's a fish.
It's a thing. It's a fish. It's a fish. Anything I want it to be.
That's right. It can be. Life is what you make it. Wicked. So that's really interesting. I do think that often people that get into coaching didn't think about that until they're there.
I didn't think about it at all until my physio, who was sort of like my nurse, mum, therapist, physio, cocktail maker, said to me, you need a mental strength coach. Okay. I was like, are you not enjoying listening to my tales of woe? And he knew someone, so recommended, and it was such a vastly different experience from what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And I was instantly hooked. Yeah. Really related to my coach. And at the time I was also had young children. I was trying to compete. I was doing all of these things, and I loved it. It was amazing. It was life-changing. So a few years later, when it was like, okay, I'm going to get divorced now, so flippant, what shall I do? I thought, well, I had a background in psychology, organizational psychology especially, but a bit of people psychology. And I thought, right, I'm going to do that. So went into the sports side of it.
Okay.
But I had no idea.
No idea.
And I think coaching is still quite misunderstood.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What led to you feeling equipped to do that? So you had an experience where you got coached, but there's a whole backstory of your lived experience that got you to kind of niche down, and where's the area that you can add impact and all of that sort of stuff. So was it predominantly your competing background that kind of gave you the kind of foundations, or was there other part of your life that really kind of informed much of you kind of getting into the...
Probably being super competitive in everything. That thing where you say to someone, and then we had a good laugh, but I laughed longer and louder. I am like that. And so when I decided to start coaching and get involved with mindset, I also went down the completely alpha route of, and I'm going to be the best qualified. I'm going to have read the most stuff. I'm going to have been to the most conferences. I'm going to have met the most people. Right. So I really went full hundies on making sure that the lived experience was backed up by an awful lot of study and education and experience, and I dreadful for the business, but I decided not to niche. Definitely for the first 5 years, I went as wide and broad as I could so that I could just bring in more modalities, more experience, more information. And yeah, dreadful for the business not to niche at that stage. It made it really hard.
Right.
But at the same time, for me, I think it's made me much better at what I do now.
Yeah.
Just having that experience, but it had to be backed up by the learning and the knowledge. Otherwise, you're really no better than having a cup of tea with one of your mates. And that's not what I want to be in this capacity.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Is there a type of client that typically resonates to you at the moment?
Do you know what? There are some clients that I wouldn't want a car trip with, right?
Yeah.
I would probably want to stab them with a fork.
Okay.
If we had to sit down and sort of have a social event. And yet that time I have with them, they're the most fascinating person in the world and I can't get enough of it.
Right.
And it's usually the clients who have a bit of depth. Not everyone is that open to coaching in the beginning. They might feel they need it or want it, but it can take a while to build that trust. The clients that resonate, I mean, plain, the ones that give me a big ego boost, that do amazing things and become stupidly successful or shift gears on their business and all that kind of thing. I mean, I'm not going to deny that.
It makes you feel good about it.
Yeah, but so much of it also happens in small moments.
Yeah.
And when I'm not watching, and that's the bit about the work. You're working with a team and you have a day with them and you're like, oh, this is fun. And you go back 2 months later and it's like, who are these people?
Yeah, right.
And that's all happened in between time.
Yeah.
I tell them that I did that.
Right.
No, that's being silly, I don't. But it's kind of like we joke about these things. I'm like, wow, what happened? And they're like, oh, we've been doing this. So it's so important in this industry, I think, to have that inner reward system where you recognise that it's been good value.
You said you went full alpha.
Yeah.
Just personal curiosity here. It's something I'm mulling and laughing about at the moment is learning about the new terms. Sigma. Have you heard of Sigma from your kids yet?
Sigma. Tell me. See, this is it.
So you need to learn this.
Yeah.
Apparently, and so do I. So obviously, like I was hearing this kind of concept to them throwing around the word Sigma and stuff. I was laughing about it.
What is Sigma? Sigma?
So Sigma, okay. So being Sigma, you know how they say Sigma?
Sigma.
Apparently, it's an unsuspecting alpha. It's an alpha in disguise.
Is a Sigma.
So alpha's gone out of fashion.
Oh.
And it's better to be Sigma, which is apparently like
a stealth
alpha.
Alpha. What is wrong with being alpha now?
I don't know. But Sigma's elevated.
Oh, elevated.
Sigma is now elevated above alpha.
Okay.
So I just thought, I wondered if you heard your kids say these weird terms these days?
I'm going to drop that in. The one I heard my kids say the other day was funny because I said it to you, tell the time, not how the watch works. They're like, Mum, just put the fries in the bag already. I'm like, okay, you want the short version. I got you. No, I hadn't heard about Sigma. And so there's a lot to keep up with. I think at the moment there's 7 generations in the workforce.
Right.
Which is nuts. Yeah. And fabulous. Probably unless you're at one extreme end or the other extreme end, where it's maybe a bit difficult. It's to try and keep across all of this stuff, but I do quite love that.
Yeah.
And
you can throw that in with your kids randomly and they'll be confused mortified at the same time.
I was actually going to say to you, I'm setting myself a challenge, and I'll probably text you later on today. I'll be like, I'm going to drop it into conversation this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like one new term or phrase a week in context that they don't see coming.
Freak them out.
Yeah. Keep them on their toes.
Oh. The eye rolls.
Oh,
you can already feel the eye rolls. Yeah. In fact, I might just tell them, roll your eyes now because something's coming.
That's right. That's good. So you're often working with teams then rather than individuals, or do you feel like you always have an individual stakeholder that you're really working on, or is it broad?
No, it just depends.
Not broad, but like your relationship with your clients is typically team-based rather than individual-based?
No, both.
Both.
Although if you're in to work with a team, often there will be an individual that you've got
extra time with,
or they're the sponsor, the one who's organised it, or perhaps the CEO, the chair of the board, whoever it is that you've sort of been working with. And that's really delicate because there's a power imbalance there.
Right.
And that can affect the trust. So it's something that you're always managing working with teams, but it really does vary. Sometimes you're brought in, there's a sponsor, and it's just like, here, have the team.
Right. See you later.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah.
I'm like, what do you want to know? Oh, tell me what you find out.
Right.
Okay. Anything in particular you're looking for? Because usually there is. People don't bring you in just like, here, let's just do that. So all of those things, it's kind of very particular to the individuals you're working with. But one thing I love about working with teams and having those sort of longer engagements, you really become part of it.
Yeah.
And when I first was taught about team coaching and working with teams in that capacity, it was very much that you were not part of the team and you kept this sort of invisible wall between you and the team. And I think that's so false. I think it's probably changed a lot now, but for me, I'm in the room, I'm having the conversation. You are going to become part of it.
Yeah.
And then my thing, the challenge for me always is not to get sucked down the same narrative or rabbit hole or whatever it is that's going on for them to try and stay out of that. Oh, any part of the team at any moment.
Because I do find like rumination is a real problem these days, right? Like just kind of being stuck on a thing and then just you're basically like a cassette tape on repeat and you can't quite get over the thing, but you keep repeating the problem.
Yeah. Two things about that. One, a groove and a rut are especially the same thing.
Okay.
People think they've found their groove and then it actually turns out to be a rut.
Yeah.
But either way, you can be into a groove, but unless your groove keeps evolving, it becomes dull and boring and you get stuck in it. So I think there is something about that. But it's also a big part of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is really misunderstood. People think about empathy and compassion, and that's emotional intelligence, and there's a lot more to it. And a big part of that is pattern recognition. So whether it's you, your organization, or a team, what are the things you're doing habitually? Being able to recognize those. And when people say they're stuck, it's because they just don't have the optimism and the guts, basically, or they can't find them at that time to try something new. And I think it's a really big problem. And I think it's something we're seeing a lot of in New Zealand at the moment. A lot of the people I'm talking to are talking about struggling to make decisions and decision-making taking longer than it would have in the past. And I think, certain industries, we go through all these cycles, industrial cycles, different things, but they're very real things. And I've been in ruts. Awful. You know what's wrong. You know what's driving you crazy. And then it's like, but what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when I think about some of the times where I've had the most, where I maybe from a portfolio perspective performed the best, I might have been doing the least amount of work.
Yeah.
And then I've been working the hardest and done the best work and performed the worst, for example. Or, same with competing. I compete in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, really?
So sometimes you can be kind of, I've never really felt in a rut there, to be fair. Yeah. But, sometimes you can have really great success. Sometimes you actually come back after a break, an injury or something, and you're way better because your mind has had time to get out of that repetitive process of training where you're actually training and ruminating in your current comfort zone, and then you escape from it, and then when you come back you just feel better, and then your progression is non-linear and you have like a step function up and you're like all of a sudden you're way better.
100%. And when I was competing in fly fishing, I think what you're alluding to, I could go out, I could have the best session, I could be so onto it, I could fish absolutely out of my skin and still end up way down the leaderboard because it's not there's all the things you can't control. You can only control your own performance, not your competitor, not the water, not the wind, not every other thing. And I think it's that internal reflection then becomes so strong. Am I proud of, you have a little Heather Small moment.
Yeah.
Am I proud of what I did today? Did I do something that makes me proud, whether or not I'm on the leaderboard?
Yeah.
Love being on the leaderboard.
Of course.
But between having teenage sons and fishing, my ego has been destroyed.
Fishing is definitely a sport that would test your ego, like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I read this book and it's been really influential for me, and it would be, I think you should read it if you haven't already. It's called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke.
No.
So it's a professional poker player turned hedge fund, private equity and VC coach. So that's who she advises now. But she was a poker player.
Brilliant.
And the whole book is around disassociating outcomes from decisions.
Yes.
Which is like what you were talking about around fishing. And you can have a really good day, but doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. So like you can make a really good decision, but not have the outcome you desire. Yeah. But as an entrepreneur, or a competitor, or a investor or whatever, your identity is tied to your thing. And then when you make a decision and your thing doesn't go well, you're destroyed. Whereas actually you need to retro the decision and the information you had at the time.
Yeah.
And are you proud or happy with that decision despite the outcome? But it's very easy to just think about outcomes.
Oh, absolutely. And we do judge our decisions on the outcome we get, which is
potentially wrong.
Yeah. Sounds right, but it's so wrong. I thought you were going to say The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin.
No, but I've probably done that one too.
Yeah, I bet you have, because it was my Bible when I was competing. And it was a lot of that stuff. It was like stepping away. Your brain's still working. He was jiu-jitsu. Yeah, right. I think. Martial arts anyway. Yeah. And then he would go away to sea and he'd come back and he'd be as good or better. Yeah. He was a chess prodigy.
That's right. Yeah, one of my business partners actually introduced me to that book.
Yeah, and what I love about him, which works with my brain as well, and it was something I used to do in fly fishing internationals, you have two of you in a boat.
Right.
And I just create chaos, right?
Right.
Just in my own little way, because I'm really comfortable and happy in chaos. And then I could just find my way through the chaos. Yeah. And for me, that was very calm and that brought me really good performance. Yeah. But for whomever was in the boat, and I was the only woman often competing at that level, for them it was just like, and I still want, my thing was always let's be first and second in the boat. Right. But I'm still going to play.
But you're competing against each other.
Well, it's a bit complicated. Yeah. But yeah, you are, because you're never on the same team in an international. Yeah. So it's that finding a way through chaos, understanding how you work and how you learn. I want to read that book.
Yeah, you totally should.
Yeah. And reflecting on your own performance, complex adaptive systems. See, I geek out. Quite geeky. Complex adaptive systems theory, there's so much on that non-linearity. Regardless of what you're doing, there's so many other things going on. Yeah. US markets went crazy last night. Yeah. We can probably guess why. But it's, how do you predict that? How do you do all these different things? And we think we can.
Well, so here's the thing. Here's the thing that I've learned. Well, here's the thing I think I'm learning. Is in that sort of system, right? Like, so from a markets perspective, you're actually, if you're a trader, now if you're a long-term investor, you in a sense, you just want to own really great assets and you don't really care about the fluctuations and the sentiment of the market. And, it's an auction-based system. So you don't actually need a lot of people buying to take the price up a lot. Yeah. Because if there's not that many sellers, then the few buyers can drive the price up massively, okay? Yeah. So irrespective of that, what you're doing really as more of a trader or an institutional trader is you're going, well, the market, the group, the consensus is pricing in that the market will go down 15% over the next 2 months. And the market is currently pricing that at, and this connects to the book, is pricing it at, let's say, a 1% probability. But maybe you have an insight and you think, actually, the probability is more like 20%. Okay? So in that example, you're not actually playing necessarily for the outcome to be achieved. You're actually playing the delta between what the market's pricing and what you believe the actual probability is. Because now tomorrow some news comes out and all of a sudden the probability is not 1%, it's 6%. So there's 5% in theoretical profit from that. So we're all actually just always dealing in probabilities.
Yeah.
So there's a probability that I will go out onto the jiu-jitsu. I mean, it comes in like, you know, odds with gambling, right? For sports gambling, sports betting is, you know, based on the ranking system and prior performance, I might have a theoretical 30% chance of winning nationals. But maybe I've had a really great training camp, or I've gone overseas and I've learned some new stuff, and maybe my real probability of winning is higher.
Yeah.
But we're always just dealing with probabilities is what I'm learning.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
And then the perception of probabilities is what you're trying to work out to get anyway.
And should you get that crystal ball,
yeah,
I will be your best friend. Because who knows? And we're constantly bombarded with information, and you know, and then all our biases come into play.
Huge amounts of biases.
Oh, what do we do with all that? How do you, I think modern literacy, someone very clever said it a while back, you know, modern literacy wasn't about reading and writing anymore. It was about learning and unlearning and relearning. I think now modern literacy is more around filtering and how we filter.
Reduce the noise.
Yeah, reduce the noise. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It is a difficult one. And I think that it's, well, if you look at careers, what does a career look like for the average person entering the workforce today versus like 10, 20, 30 years ago?
When I got my job out of high school and they looked after me and I gave them my soul and I stayed with them for 60 years and then I left.
Yeah. You know that arc that you see in financial advisor websites where it's like accumulation, decumulation?
Yeah.
It's like, and you always have kids at the same point and then you always do all these things at like this like regimented approach. That's just totally not how life is.
No, I know.
And especially not what life is as we're seeing, you know, the emergence of more people being self-employed.
Yes.
Right. And the multiple revenue streams that people have. And I would actually say the reason we haven't seen as much bad headline data, economic data in the US and here, even though it's been bad here, is because people are more diversified individually. So you don't get large groups of unemployment in like concentrated areas. You have income, like I might have two income streams, one of them's affected. But that means I'm not unemployed. But I might have lost 80% of my revenue.
Oh, you know, and I think it is a privilege to be able to have eggs in many different baskets.
Yeah.
And absolutely where we can. And even whether or not it's an actual viable egg, it's just not having tunnel vision on any one thing.
Yeah.
You know, being able to just have that peripheral vision. What's getting my attention? Where's my attention going? Yeah. And being aware of that. It's interesting, the self-employed thing. I don't know what the stats are in New Zealand anymore. But some days I just think, I said this to a client once, I was like, some days I just wish I had a job. And I just wish I went to work. And I worked for Reuters as a financial markets product specialist for a long time. And it was so much fun. Yeah. And you know, we worked hard, we played pretty hard. And I was thinking, I could, you know, when my client laughed, he was just like, could you actually imagine yourself in a job? And I was like, no, I love the autonomy of working for myself. I love being able to make my own decisions, the accountability, you know, sometimes I fire myself, poor performance reviews, all of those happen. Yeah. But then other days it's like, pop the corks, baby, you did good. Yeah. And I wouldn't change any of that. I do wonder, though, I think, you know, I don't know how you even get that information about how successful a lot of soul, or how a government holds that information about how well sole employees or self-employed people at work are doing.
Well, it's also, how are they doing? How do they measure how they're doing? Like, it's a little bit different because, like you say, a big part of it is, and what we learned from the podcast before we kind of turned to this format was, hey, what do you think? What does wealth mean to you? And everyone just went, oh, yeah, I just want freedom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, and we're, it's like when we talk about our values, you know, I make it very clear. I like status. and you say that in New Zealand and people are like, you don't talk like that here. I love status. I love knowing about something. And I love being the expert in the room, but I'm also wildly curious. So I like it when I'm around other people who know a lot of stuff.
Totally.
And I'm just an evil sponge, taking it all in. I can do both of those. But we talk about our values, and, valuing wealth is borderline dirty.
Yeah, nowadays it is.
Yeah, it's borderline dirty. And I'm like, I love earning money.
Yep.
Freedom, yawn.
Yep.
We've had that one. But it's so much more than that. I like nice things. You can't put that as a value on your website.
Well, you can. I think you should be able to. You can. Like, we had the owner of Orsini.
Sarah. I love her.
Yeah, my wife works.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sarah's brilliant.
She's awesome, and Kent's great too, her husband. So I've known them for a very long time. And she was on the pod. And she was like, I like good stuff. I like to have good stuff.
Well, no wonder I like Sarah.
And it's like, well, yeah, and it shouldn't, like you say, it shouldn't necessarily be. But we've been, we've been programmed to not like that because some agenda has said that that's the right thing.
Oh, but that means you are greedy and selfish, perhaps.
Yeah.
As opposed to you might also be incredibly generous and very kind. And, we have these paradoxes that can be true. But that's harder for people to take in.
Why is it?
Black and white thinking is much more.
Which is really easy if you consume a short form piece of content. It's very easy to gain a strong opinion, even though you don't really maybe have a true understanding of the fundamental first principles behind it.
Yes.
Which is like, I hear a lot of strong opinions that are regurgitated about tariffs from people that may not have learned about what the economic drivers are behind even the concept of why you would bring them in. It's like, I like the sound of this 20-second piece of content. I'm going to repeat it. I get really good at repeating it. But then I actually don't. But then that's unfortunately not the best idea. What you want to do is you actually would rather spend an hour learning getting a little bit deeper underneath the tip of the iceberg, just to find out a bit more. You don't have to necessarily become an expert, but just be curious of asking a few more whys. Why is it that way? Well, why would that happen? Why would they do that?
I've got my chat GPT. I've got an avatar that's set up as me.
Okay.
Right? So it's a middle-aged house person, self-employed, successful, having fun, having a great life. And so there's this avatar. And then, I often feel that things I know about, and I know a reasonable amount about and have some lived experience, perfectly confident. I've also become very good at saying, I don't have enough information to have an opinion on that yet, or I don't have enough. Yeah. And I, it's one thing too, because you think, gosh, I'll be quoted on this in the future. These are my thoughts today, and I'm still learning about this thing, blah, blah, blah. And out it comes. A very good friend of mine says, I'll give you my draft response to that. And then he'll tell me, I think that was your draft response, as in go and get smarter. But if I go onto the internet and say, okay, I want to learn about this thing, it's just the algorithm's going to chuck back the stuff that I look for. It's going to confirm all of my biases. It's going to do that. So I like having this chat, my avatar, and I'll say, okay, I'm interested in this thing. Give me all the counter arguments.
Yeah.
Give me all the stuff that I'm not going to find otherwise, or I'm not going to hear talking to my friends, who are like me. Yeah. We like that about our friends. So I found that really interesting. There was something happened politically here the other day, and we were talking about it, and I was like, I don't understand it. So I got in there, I was like, and, all these different perspectives. I said, find 6 different perspectives on this for me. And that, I'm loving AI for that.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, we've been using it for years in our organization. Our product has it embedded in the actual product itself. And it's really helpful. It's a massive productivity boost for sure.
Yeah.
And gateway to more knowledge if you allow it. Or if you
depending on how you use it, right?
Yeah. What you ask, how you ask, confirming the data that brings back to you, because it can be very confidently telling you bullshit. But
we know people like that though, right?
Yeah, that's true. Those humans exist too. So you were just talking about that, and Charlie Munger has this great thing where he goes, when I have something that I really want to see succeed, I ask myself, how would I destroy it?
Yes. Yeah.
So if there's a business I'm really interested in investing in, or something that I'm kind of interested in allocating to, or getting more interested in, or maybe pursuing, then how would I undermine it? And then I find out all the risks, and then I can mitigate them. And I really like that kind of way of thinking of like...
It's so controversial, that way of thinking, because you go into the, think about this like it cannot fail. Well, okay, that's nice. Yeah. It's nice to have that belief. And if it's going to fail, know how it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And investigate that. But you can do it without going right into that problem deficit mindset. It's like, no, I'm mitigating risks.
Totally.
This is cool. Let's get all that sorted out.
You don't want to be, and I've been guilty of this, becoming pessimistic, like because almost too much. That is problematic. Like investors don't often last a very long time, for example.
No.
Because they have a really great run, and then, like you say, and then they get scars and they get stuck in the era where they have been really good, and they may come up with they may hit a blocker where they basically, the way they're thinking, their pre-exposed biases may send them down the wrong path. And they may have said some things that then are reinforcing their current behavior, because if they go against it, and I've definitely been subject to this, if I then go against what I've proclaimed, then that's wrong.
Yes.
There's this whole...
It's hard. It's really tough. And I think a lot of really smart guy called Owen Wollaston has just done some research on this. And it's around, basically when to get out and when do you change your mind. And he's done it with, business projects. And there's this fascinating thing. It's like, when do you... And I guess, I think what I've learned to do when I said that thing, it's like, I don't know enough about this today to have a good opinion, but I'll tell you what I'm thinking. You sort of, it's quite valuable, I think, to be able to say, this is what I know today, this is what I'm doing today. I'm allowed to change my mind. I might change my mind
tomorrow.
In a week.
Yeah, on my way home, I might be
totally change my mind. And where that becomes a risk, though, as well, is, you hear when economic wobble at the moment, right? And we'll call it wobble. I think it's much more palatable than a recession. So there's a wobble. It's a wobble. We can play with a wobble. And, I spoke to someone recently, and he's like, no, we're looking at our strategy every day to see if it's still in line. I was like, please tell me you're not. He said, okay, what's every week? And I was just like, oh my goodness, that's, exhausting. And why would you,
there's a lot of inertia that's been created from this environment, and it is a mistake, because it's a distraction. It's noise.
Yes.
Like someone asked me the other day, and obviously we're I guess, with Acuity, we're essentially creating a private bank-like experience without the barriers. And someone asked, so how is this affecting your business? And I said, well, it's not, because one, actually, when there's volatility, people actually look at new options, and that's actually really good for us. And two, this is just a moment in time, and the fundamentals of owning good businesses or making good decisions in your life to progress your wealth is going to be irrelevant of, a structural change around basically taxes, because it's just that's what ultimately we're thinking about. And if you really look at economic history, well, when there's lots of inflation and devaluation of currency, then you often find that governments have to find ways to generate revenue. It's historically like observable throughout history. If you look at Chinese dynasties or Western empires, you see it over and over again.
I've got another book for you. So that's really interesting, because I like that. Things are tough, so we will look at different ways of doing things. And there's always opportunity, right? and I guess that was the early definition of disruption was, okay, things are how they are. What can we do differently? What I think also happens on the flip side of that is when there is an economic wobble or something goes wrong, people will revert to their old habits. They will lock.
Backsliding.
Yeah. And they'll lock things down so that, everything's a bit wobbly. So they're trying to create stability where they can. And I think that gets done in organizations. You see it, we're trying to create stability during this time, but they're not thinking, okay, what can we still let run wild? Where can we still innovate? So it's all, more processes, more policy, more procedure, more bounded stability. And there's an element of that that's good, but it just then becomes stifling. Yeah. And, people are then asked to innovate, but they're so contained and they're worried about whether they're going to be made redundant or there's going to be a restructure or, their partner's job, whatever it is. And so I think in these times, organizations react differently. Yeah. And they tend to just come in, and then it goes in a cycle. Yeah. Because their culture has suffered so much. By the time they do their next employee engagement survey, things are not good. Right. And then they realize that actually we need to address some of the more people things in the organization rather than the more transactional productivity-based measures. And that they swing back around to the people stuff. So while people will go off in one direction, so do see organizations go in the other. Yeah,
and then there's a whole shift, right? Because there's a disconnect then, because you might have individuals going one way and the organization's trying to go another way in order to try and get some sense of certainty. But we just have to realize that life is always a little bit uncertain.
Oh, it's a lot uncertain.
And, you can focus a lot on what you can't control in these times. And it's good to be aware, but then there's basically a diminishing return on it being worth it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you think you're actually, we talk about picking the markets, and especially in the financial markets, we know over time there's few patterns. There are some trends and some things that you can predict that do tend to sort of happen, but there's so much that's random at the same time. And we spend so much time trying to connect that and make sense of it. It's the beauty of it is that all of that information that's there, you can't predict the future, but you can, if you're really wildly curious about it, then you're just open to the potential rather than the, oh, good Lord, that thing that I thought was going to happen didn't happen, and therefore I'm going to go and cry in the corner.
Yeah, therefore I'm
scream in the stairwell,
Yeah. So, okay, given everything that's going on at the moment and your practice and everything you're doing, what does success look like over the next 5 years for you then?
Me personally?
Yeah, and the business itself. You personally is very connected to the business. But
very connected to the business, and I have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
We all do. We take on, we expect a lot from our jobs in terms of what they're going to provide us.
True.
And, that's a big one. Looking for meaning in the work you do is so critical, being able to find that. Next 5 years, I don't know if I think 5 years ahead. I don't have a great relationship with future me. She's a bit sort of, she's having a good time. I think probably for me it's more a 3-year horizon. I'm wanting to do more work back in New Zealand.
Okay.
I've been working, thank you COVID, started doing a lot more work globally. During COVID, which kept me going.
Yes.
It was a really successful time for me. And at the beginning of that time, within sort of 3 weeks, about 80% of my pipeline walked out the door.
Right.
I was very lucky to be able to, have good connections overseas, and those markets kept me going. And now I'm like, I don't want to be having meetings at 2:00 in the morning.
Right.
Do most of it virtually.
Yeah.
So I think in 3 years' time, I'll be well and truly
domesticated?
You're going to be domesticated. I don't know if I want to be domesticated. I might grow up. But back in this environment. And so success for me, that is a big measure of success. My network here just gets growing and growing and growing by the week. It's so much fun, just being asked to talk at things or being invited to stuff. It's been really good fun, and I'm loving it. So that for me will be a real measure of success, will be for the much larger percentage of my revenue, profit, personal profit, whatever it is, to be coming from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's going to be a really big number too.
Yeah.
I wish. Good. We'll see.
But it must have been, do you charge in like US dollars though?
No.
You should.
I know.
You should.
I have,
not financial advice.
No, I love financial advice. Advice.
Opinion.
Thank you. No, I was doing quite a bit of work in sterling for a while.
Yeah, that's good. That was handy too. Yeah, it's just so nice. I think the self-employed people that I know that have diversified and are earning kind of, some portion in New Zealand dollars, which is fair enough, it's stable, but also have been earning in other currencies, specifically the US dollar. Like they've been killing it.
Oh, absolutely.
The last 3 years, killing it.
Yeah, no, that's not somewhere I've managed to get paid out of, but sterling and Aussie dollars.
Yeah, because if you could do the US, West Coast is also great.
Can you introduce me to someone over there?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, yeah, West Coast.
West Coast is real nice because I used to do a lot of work with the West Coast because my prior startup was a gaming platform. Developers for that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. No, I've had lots of clients in the US.
Yeah.
But that was run out of the UK.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, anything is better than the New Zealand dollar at the moment.
Yes, I would say that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a structural issue, but that's probably a topic for a different day. So you mentioned that there's 7 generations working in the workforce. So in terms of today's kind of takeaway, how do you feel like an organization or a leadership team can integrate successfully or go towards a step towards actually having a bit of a harmonious but diverse set of generations working together and it not being a shit show?
Okay. Do you really want to open the diversity and inclusion?
No,
box?
I don't need the DEI box doesn't need to be included, but
it is part of it.
How do you get the benefits of, like you say, I guess, I'm thinking more generationally here.
Okay, we can do that.
How do you integrate effectively multiple generations basically into a team where, like you say, the people on either end of the spectrum are probably finding it the most kind of hard to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in an environment where ultimately grads and young people are actually not finding their way into the workforce in an effective way because those roles have been culled.
Yeah, and that's interesting because my eldest is in the process of applying for internships. He's that guy at the moment. And it's quite terrifying for them and who they think they need to be. For organizations, when you think about it, someone gets a new role.
Yep.
And you're like, how are you doing? And they're like, I'm just working out how I fit in here. And it's like, oh, please don't do that. Encouraging people not to have to fit in, rather than fitting in, to have a sense of belonging, and that's very different, so that they feel safe, so that they feel heard, so that they feel that what they do makes an impact. And for all generations, making space for each. And I'm over 50, right? So
really?
Yeah, thank you. I'm taking that as a compliment. Yeah. I start to see it. I'm starting to see it even at my age. And it's a really interesting one for people in leadership. How do they create that sense of belonging and still want to hear someone's lived experience and what they've been through, and have some grad who just might have wildly outrageous ideas on all sorts of things. But if you listen to them, if you say to a grad, what is the craziest thing we can do with this particular problem, chances are they're going to go back to university and they're not going to have that wild thinking. If you say to someone who's in their 70s, what is the wildest, most crazy thing we can do to solve this problem? They might go full Banksy and shred it or burn it or, whatever it is. But there's probably going to be something in either of those ideas that's going to be like, okay, we can take that one thing to find a new solution for an old problem because something hasn't worked. So, creating that value, there's so much value in having these generations, as long as the leadership knows what to do, how to bring that out, how to create that safety, and how to encourage them not to fit in, not to, within 3 weeks to 3 months, research shows, and I can't quote what research, but shows that someone coming into a new role starts having groupthink, starts subscribing to the company bullshit, starts, becomes part of the culture, the unspoken culture, rather than the lived culture, rather than the laminated culture that's on the wall.
Totally.
And it happens so quickly. And I think that's a real challenge for leaders in this day and age to create that safety. And I've got my soapbox out now because I'm seeing it so much at the moment. People are they're going into management mode. We're going to have process and safety and structure and keep people, look after our people in that way, as opposed to just using that leading through people mindset and getting all the wisdom, finding new solutions, letting people come to work as their whole self. It's such a challenge. And it is such a challenge when at the moment we've got such a big push on productivity. And New Zealand's productivity stats are really good. Australia's are dreadful at the moment, but their innovation stats are a bit high, whereas I think our innovation stats, people I talk to, they want to be more innovative. So it's this constant tension between how you do it. But I mean, for me, obviously, because it's the work I do, when you lead through people and you let people be wise and be smart and be included and have meaning, they will be more productive. You will get better results. And it's proven
for
time over time. So yes, back to your question, 7 generations in the workforce, you have to allow for the whole person. You have to create that safety that they can be who they are.
Awesome.
Otherwise, why have them there? It's like emotions. When people say emotions don't belong at work, that's a whole data set that's being ignored. And it's the same with these, different generations.
Totally.
Any type of diversity, it's data and information. If you ignore it, why would you?
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Such a pleasure.
I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And we've got book recommendations.
So we've got the whole shebang. Boom. Thank you. Awesome.
I just want to tell you too, since I've been on that soapbox, anyone wants to get in touch with me, I've recently republished a document. It's like a health check on leading through people.
Awesome.
And it's really valuable at the moment. People are loving it because it's just reminding people what they're doing. It only takes 15 minutes. It's got a whole lot of information, data. It's a bit more
We can link it in.
fun. We can link it in.
Awesome. Anyway, thanks.